disinfecting materials and other relief items to pupils, especially the underserved children of the society. We've impacted about over 800 persons, including persons with disability. I think out of the 800 or more, we have about 250 to 300 persons with disability we've reached out to. So we're still coming up, and we believe with your support, your encouragement, your collaboration and partnership, we will do better in the society. So thank you for sticking with us. Mr. Lucky is still working on it, and I'm sure within the next 5 minutes, all that will be settled. No one has dropped a message yet. Okay, Mr. Lucky is back. Mr. Vic, please try to send him the link again. Okay, he's now the speaker.
So, Mr. Lucky, you can unmute your mic. The button is just your bottom left. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Welcome on board.
So sorry about that. I actually had an issue with my mic, so that's why you couldn't hear me all this while.
Okay, that's fine. I understand. The audience have been very patient, so thank you, audience, for bearing with us. Thank you for understanding. So, Mr. Lucky, shortly before you were able to speak, I've been able to share your bio with the audience. So I don't know if you were on then or you could hear me then.
Yeah, I heard the bio presentation.
Okay. All right. Thank you for joining. Okay, so since we are far behind time, I think we should go into the main topic ASAP. So, Dr. Pastor, who lets us into your world? How has life been for you the past 15 to 16 years?
That's a very broad question. Where do I start? Okay, so, my philosophy about life is never a bed of roses, right? So with that mindset, I think I was prepared to go through the hurdles and the barricades of life. So when I lost my sight, I knew it was a new page, and I needed extra strength to be able to fight through this page. So when I took the decision to go back to school, it was like a no-no with my parents, because they felt, oh, he can't see, so how can he survive? How will he survive in the world? Apparently, the world is evil, so you understand their fears, right? But then I insisted to go to school, and then that was the beginning of my journey. So talking about how the journey has been, it hasn't been so rosy. I've had my challenges, from structural challenges, human challenges, and accessibility challenges. So all of these are parts of the challenges I've had in my life's journey, and some of these are still challenges I have even today. When it comes to acceptance, people are yet to accept the fact that persons with disabilities are humans like them. So that alone poses a lot of challenge to a person with a disability, because wherever you go, you will have to fight for acceptance. And for you to gain this acceptance, in most cases, you have to do extra for people to just say, oh, okay, he can actually fit in. You must have proven yourself with extra efforts. So I always say that something a person without disability would get with ease, a person with a disability would get that same thing with extra efforts. Because seeing you alone it's a no-no. Like, there is already a perception that he can't fit in here. So for you to be able to prove to them that you can fit in here, you need to show extra abilities for them to also, okay, we can manage. So I can't really start pointing specifics, like in terms of the challenges of life, but then the summary of the whole thing is that it hasn't been rosy. There have been challenges, like I said, human challenges, structural challenges, and all that. So maybe there are specifics you want me to talk about, then we can go into that.
Okay. Well, that's quite a deep one. So, in your book, Braving the Storm, chapter 1 precisely, you mentioned two notions you work hard to correct. One is he failed due to his predicament. Then the second is blind people don't trust. How
Sorry,
far?
I didn't get what you mentioned, but the first one you said is what?
Okay, the first one is like these are notions you wanted people to take out of their minds.
Yeah.
Don't want to see you exactly. So one is he failed. He failed due to his predicament.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Then second is blind people don't trust. So we want to know, how far have you gone proving this to be wrong?
Okay. Yes. Ordinarily, people want to give excuses for persons with disabilities, and it's the same excuses that they use in discriminating you. So, for instance, when you go to a place, go to the classroom, go to your place of work, and all that, they want to excuse you, like, oh, don't disturb him, don't bother him because he's blind, he can't see, so don't just trust him, or maybe even when you are allowed to do a particular thing and you probably didn't get it right, they say, oh, it's understandable, he can't see, right? So in other words, people try to excuse your failure. So they tie everything you do to your disability. If you fail, it's your disability. Even when you succeed, sometimes they still say it as, oh, he was favored because he's a person with a disability. So every aspect of your life sometimes is tied to the disability. So how have I been able to correct this? Now,
exactly.
I do quite a number of writing, and when I write, I try to let people see persons with disabilities for who they are. I try to make people see that persons with disabilities are humans. They can make mistakes as a human would do, right? They can try and succeed. They can equally try and fail. So because I have tried and failed, does not mean that my disability is responsible. Oh yes, I agree that there are things that because of my disability I might not be able to do. That's true. But that doesn't mean that everything I do and fail is as a result of my disability. So what I do is, when I go to a place, I always try to let them know, allow me to do this thing, right? Allow me to do this thing. And whenever I do it and I fail, I tell them, give me a second chance, right? Let me do it again. I don't believe I failed or I didn't do it well because I'm blind. I didn't do it well probably because I've not really understood what it takes to do this thing. So I try to do it again, find a solution to it, and get it right. So I don't just sit down and say, oh, I can't see, that is why I can't do this, let me just let it go. Yeah, when the time comes for me to accept that, okay, this thing is beyond, this thing need visual. You need vision to do it, like you need a sight to do it. I accept that, and I accept that, okay, this one is in no way. We have not discovered the technology that will enable us to do this yet. You know, because I don't also believe that there is nothing a person with a visual impairment can't do. I just feel that the technology to do it hasn't been discovered yet. You know, so that's what I feel about that. Then about trust. On a personal note, right? I trust people until they prove otherwise. Like until they prove that they are not trustworthy. So I can trust you when I meet you the first time. I give you the benefit of doubt. I relate with you like every other person. You know, trust you, give you everything I would have given to anyone I know. Because I believe people shouldn't be judged hastily, right? You don't dive into hasty generalizations. Even when you've been betrayed before, you don't transfer that betrayal to everybody you meet on the road. So when I meet you, I allow you to show me who you are, you know, by doing what I ought to do. I also agree that some people are just naturally mistrustful. Yes, that's a fact. But then it's not tied to persons with disabilities alone. That because you are a person with a disability, automatically you are mistrustful. You can't trust anyone. You know. So basically, I just this I can't do much here in terms of how people perceive persons with disability, because at the end of the day, it depends on what they see when they interact with persons with disabilities. That will determine if they will accept finally that, oh, okay, truly it is a myth, or they will see it as a fact, you know. But then I've written as much as I can on the subject, and I believe people have learned from my experiences.
Okay, beautiful. So, you spoke about finding yourself in drainages back then in your university days due to poor environmental management.
Yeah, that's true.
I am actually curious. Was there no one there to assist you out of the hostel? No one saw you walking towards the drainages to call out, redirect you? How do you manage to get out of this messy spot? I'm actually curious, and I'm sure the audience wants to know. So please guide us.
Okay, two things, right? One is that people are not always nice. Okay. Secondly, there are people who are very kind and loving. But then, what if at that point in time, the people who are nice and loving are not the one around you? You know, so like I've always said, I don't always like generalizing. I know people are not. There are people who are not nice, and there are also people who are very nice. You know, so it depends on the category of people around you at the time of a particular incident, right? Yeah. So I'll give you a story briefly. There was a day in the university. I came out from the library with a friend of mine. We're both visually impaired, right? So we came out from the library gate, aided by our librarian. So we were about going to the hostel that evening. It's about past 6, I guess, in the evening after reading. So when we came out from the library, a young man was just passing by, and the librarian called him and said, "Oh, my son, please come. Help my brothers. They are both going to the boys' hostel. Please aid them, just assist them so they can walk together to the hostel." The next thing my young brother said was, "Oh, ma, please, I'm late for church." And it rang in my head. I was like, "Oh, really? Late for church?" So what the essence of going to church where you can't help someone in need on the road to church? And to make the matters worse, really, this young man is going, the road to his church is just by the hostel. He's definitely going to pass through the hostel before he can get to his church. So it got me thinking, like, really? So basically, that's what I mean when I say people aren't too nice. But then, in my own experience of entering the drainage, it was not my own case. Although didn't happen during the day where people could see me. It actually happened in the middle of the night. Yeah. So I just came out to ease myself, and I was walking down to where I could ease myself, and the next thing I saw was I found myself in a drainage. You know, so but it all boils down to lack of accessibility, right, in our system. You know, because the school authority knew that there are visually impaired students in this hostel. So they should ensure that the place is safe enough for them to dwell in. But then there are still drainages everywhere, open and all that, But we would have people who fall into drainages even during the day. I'm just saying my own case didn't happen during the day. Okay, but I've had friends, fellow visually impaired students who probably people did not see them in time, or the people who were around them were not nice enough to say stop, or whatever the case is. But the bottom line is that they fell into the drainage system. Yeah.
Wow. So if you're actually listening to us, I'm speaking to the audience now directly. If you're listening to us and you know anybody working with school authorities and all of that, please take this message back to them that system needs to be fixed. There should be a better management of the environment. Okay, so back to you, Lucky. Let's check on Sandra from your article, Why I Am Disabled. You made us understand that Sandra is on a wheelchair, but that was not a hindrance to her carrying out her office tasks with optimum professionalism and competence. You also made us understand that she was even better at it than some of her colleagues that were not having any form of impairment. Can we actually know her role in the office? Sandra's role.
Okay, so about Sandra, when I write my articles, right, I don't like bringing real faces to it. Sandra's story was I didn't this it was I what I did was bringing different experiences together and fusing it into the character of Sandra.
Okay.
So Sandra herself wasn't a real character in a real person in the story, but Sandra is a representative of several. Because people have told me their experiences in their different offices. So what I did was bringing all of these experiences into one character, which is Sandra. Yeah. So that was what I did there. So, but then that doesn't take it away. That doesn't take it away from reality, right? It's as real as it is, But just I don't like bringing real characters and real people into my story, so that there will not be just in case of any misunderstanding. Because sometimes when you try to present people's story and let the world know what people are going through, it's instead of accepting the correction you are making, they tend to even worsen the situation. So I don't like using real people when I talk about these things. I just maybe get few experiences from different people and fuse all the experiences into one character to portray my points.
Okay, that's actually fine. So let's see how we can actually understand this, and let's stick to Sandra as a person. We already get the point that it's more like she's representing so many people. So if you could help us explain better some of these challenges they face there and how better they yes, exactly.
Okay, so first of all, when an employer employs you as a person with a disability, the first thing that comes to mind is he or she has a disability, so he can't, he can't work here. No, but take note, I'm not talking about all employers. There are people who have actually learned to accept your disability and try to look for ways to bring you in to fit into the system. And permit me to give this to the organization I work for, Glisten International Academy. Whenever I ask them for any accessibility, they make sure that it's provided, to be able to enable me function in the organization. Yeah, so just permit to give that to them. This is me saying a big thank you to Glisten International Academy for creating an inclusive workspace. Okay, that's all. That's for that. So, but generally, there are organizations. When you are employed as a person with a disability, you are seen to be just a charitable figure who was employed in order to help you maybe earn a living, not necessarily because they wanted to come and function in the system. Yeah. So what happens is when it's time to maybe you make a request for accessibility, they don't really consider it. It's like the story of Sandra, right? Now, what people fail to understand about disability is this. Now, in most cases, we are the ones, society now, we are the ones creating these disabilities in reality. Now, why do I say so? Take, for instance, you see pedestrian bridges on highways, right? Why were these bridges built? They were built because the government felt, oh, these roads are highways and people cannot cross them easily. So let us make it easy. Let us make it accessible. That's the word. Let us make this road accessible so people can cross easily. So they create pedestrian bridges, right? So, but when it's not time to see, okay, this person has a visual disability, let us make this place equally accessible. It becomes a problem. It becomes a thing of charity. It becomes a thing of, oh, they are less privileged, we're just helping them. So they take their time. They don't even consider it important. Just like I wrote in that article, if you go to libraries, national libraries or public libraries, for instance, you will see computer systems everywhere to aid information, right? To aid the procurement of information, okay, for everyone who comes in. But at that point, they fail to realize that this library can also be used by persons with visual impairments. So what were they supposed to do? All they were supposed to do was to install screen readers or systems in the library. So the person with visual impairment comes in, all he or she to do is just to press the command on the system and the screen reader comes up. He or she does whatever they want to do and shuts the screen reader off and goes. It's as simple as that. But people don't think about this because they don't see it as important. Okay? And that is because persons with disabilities are they are a minority, right? So whenever a policy is being made, they are often forgotten. They don't consider if these policies would impact them or not. But talking about accessibility in different places, the Disability Act was passed into law, I think about 4 years ago, with a 5 years transitory period to fix things and make the environment accessible. But trust me, this 5 years transitory period will end next year. But tell me, how many places have you gone and you saw RAM in the buildings? How many banks have you gone and you saw voice overs, or you saw screen readers on the ATMs for you to withdraw independently as a visually impaired person? So this, I can go on and on. How many libraries have you gone to and you saw screen readers in their computers to aid a person with visual impairments? So you can go on and on. What it really shows that the system or the government is not ready to include persons with disabilities yet. And that is because they don't deem it necessary. The way they would have seen it so it affects them directly. Like I said in that article, when you build a structure, like a 2-story building or stuff, you build stairs or elevators to aid access to the next floor, upper floor and all that. But when a person with a wheelchair asks for an elevator, you say it isn't necessary. You don't see it as necessary because you're already creating an access for yourself, which is the staircase. But someone who is on wheelchair, you don't consider him or her as important. So you don't even think about, okay, how do we create an elevator? So we should start thinking about, whenever we are planning anything, a society that is inclusive is one that whenever anything is being planned, persons with disabilities will be in mind when planning anything. So that is basically what I was saying in that article.
Okay. All right. Okay. We move further. I am still visually impaired, but with a value. I extracted this from page 57 of your book. I am still visually impaired, but with a value. Can you tell us more about your students at Gillison International Academy? Are they visually impaired?
It's actually Gillison International Academy.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so about my students, right? They're not visually impaired students. I teach regular students, not some students with visual impairments. Yeah.
Okay. So, how are their performance like? Their reports, especially from their parents, what are their comments about your impact in the children? Because in your bio, you teach English and literature.
Yeah. So what I've always tried to do, because I'm not one person with a disability who always want to confine himself to things around disability alone. Because there is a notion that when you are a person with a disability, all you can do is within the world of disability. You can't do anything outside of the world. So I try not to confine myself to areas around disability alone. So what I try to do in the place I work is to bring in disability discourse into the classroom. So when I teach literature, for instance, I bring literary works that reflects disability. Like I write poems, and so sometimes I bring in my poem on disability, discuss it in the class, get a reaction from students, help them see. Because the truth is, I believe that we need to start correcting this thing from the roots. You know, so if we can start engaging young people, young students, secondary, junior secondary, primary, engaging them about disability, it will be easier to have a society in the future that will be fully affects persons with disabilities. Because from the beginning, they already know, they've already seen. Because the society they are imbeciles, they are beggars, so many negative stereotypes, right? So for you to correct this is to start from the grassroots, start from catching them young. So that's what I try to do in my school. I talk whenever I go to class, whenever I'm discussing literature. After discussing literature, I try to bring in issues about life, so that when we discuss these things, we get to realize that it isn't really what we think. Even seeing me in the classroom alone is a plus, because ordinarily they wouldn't have believed that the blind man would come to their classroom to teach them. And I teach them using interactive boards. My school is highly technological, so we use more of technology in our teaching and learning.
Okay.
So I use all of those, and I make them see that it's not what you think, right? It's beyond that. So I believe if those kids go out there and see a blind person tomorrow, the person that will come to their mind will be a beggar, but it will be a fellow human being who they should relate and love, just like they will. Just like I'm doing currently. I'm currently working on a textbook that at the end of the day, I hope is going to bring in disability discourse into every classroom across the nation. By God's grace, when I book it ready, I really hope that it goes through all the tests and it's recommended as one of those textbooks that will be used in secondary schools across Nigeria. And when that is done, I'm very optimistic that disability discourse will be in the classroom, and it will help correct lots of misconceptions and stereotypical philosophies about persons with disabilities. Yeah, that's what I'm doing currently in my school.
Wow, this is really amazing. honestly. It's really amazing. This session has been wonderful, has been very impactful. I know we started late, but in this short time, we've been able to do it. Mr. King has done justice to this session. Honestly, I must say, and I believe my audience will agree with me on that. So, thank you, Mr. Lucky. Thank you so much because you've done so much for us this evening. I will use this moment to invite, give room to some two questions from our audience. I'm seeing a request. There's a bit of noise. I don't know where it's coming from.
I think
Okay. Okay. So now we'll be entertaining questions from the audience. We are giving room for two questions. I think I saw a request from. Okay, he's on. Mr. Timothy, the floor is yours.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I hope I can be heard.
Yes, we can hear you. Go on.
Oh, great. Thank you. Mr. Lucky, thank you so very much for letting us understand more about what you do and even the world of yes. I just want to start by saying that it is actually an offense to even discriminate against persons with disability. I just have a short contribution to make actually. So I'll start by saying that it is an offense to do so that prohibits any form of discrimination against persons with disability. Because then again, it is good for us to even know that Nigerian population is around 200 million and 30 million persons with disability. And it will sound funny when we have this number of persons with disability and still we are discriminating. What it simply means is that 1 out of every 7 persons is somebody with disability. And so there is no point discriminating because there's even a thin line between those who are able and those who are not currently. So there is just no point doing such. So I just want to quickly say that there's a lot that we can learn working together and also believing that those with disability have a lot of ability. And we can do that by deploying the community-based inclusive development strategies, which is what I would want to encourage everybody here to deploy. Because from my own background, from my organization, we are working tirelessly to see that even persons with disability understand the 2018 Act that prohibits every form of discrimination. We're also pushing to have universal health coverage for persons with disability, and not just them alone, at least for everybody, including the vulnerable groups. Of course, I also want to encourage people to make necessary adjustments to accommodate persons with disability. I'll give you an example. When we have our meetings in JDPC Abuja, we ensure that we use a friendly environment where it is very accessible to persons with disability, and it's something that everybody should kind of consider. And also, there's everything for us to also promote their sexual and reproductive health and right, because everybody has a right to sexual and reproductive health, which is very important. As well, I also want to talk about the empowerment of persons with disability, because we have also discovered that they have a lot to add to the economy of this country. They have a whole lot. And so one of the models we have adopted is to train village economic and social association. That is what we call it, VESA. And what we do with that is to put people into group of 30, 25, and train them to even produce assistive devices that can aid their everyday life. So there's a lot we can do together, and there is no room for discrimination. In US, UK, and other civilized climes, they have adjustments, they have ramps and all in the communities to aid persons with disabilities. So there is no need for us taking the backstage, especially in this country, Nigeria. But I'd just like to say that we stand for persons with disability and every vulnerable group, and we want to ensure that they have a better life for themselves. Thank you very much. I want to stop here now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Timothy. Do we have any other questions? I remember Eloka was sending a request earlier. Mr. Eloka, do you want to please speak to us? If you want to, this is the right time to do something. Thank you. Okay, I guess Mr. Eloka at the moment. So, do you have any other question? If you have one, if someone said, okay, he just sent his request. Mr. Please, can you accept? Hello, hello, Cash. Are you with us? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Good evening. A very interesting conversation, I must say. I want to commend the host and the guest as well. I haven't listened to everything your guest had to say, which was quite fascinating. I want to ask him, probably his response to this question would go a long way in encouraging others who have not been able to find their purpose or find that one thing that gives them a reason to wake up every day in the morning. Because living with a disability is a challenge in itself, and there are so many things that would want to make you give up in life, basically. So I want to ask your guest, what exactly is that thing that keeps him going? What really is his motivation to be able to accomplish all the things he has accomplished so far? You read a very rich biography of his, and judging from all he has explained and what you've read, he has actually really done a lot. So what is his motivation?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Eloka, for your question. Mr. Lucky, please take it away.
Okay, to respond to that, right?
Yes, you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, fine. Funny enough, I would say my motivation is my disability. Why do I say so? My disability in so many ways. First, is my disability because I know as a person with a disability, a whole lot is expected from me. With that mindset, I try to do the extraordinary to be able to fit into the society, right? Because, like I said earlier, for a person with a disability to get to a particular height, he or she has to prove beyond reasonable doubt that yes, he can do it. Someone with a disability can just write an application and he will be accepted because he can see, he can walk, he can talk. So it is believed that he's able. But when you come with visual impairments, they'll think twice, can you really do this thing? So to be able to prove to them that you can do it, you need to have something working for you. You need to have something you've accomplished. You need to prove that yes, indeed, you can do it. So that's one of my motivations. Because if I don't do it, I know I will remain behind in the society. So I have to work hard to write my name in gold, so that when I go anywhere and ask for any opportunity, I'll be considered. Okay, so that's one of my motivation. Disability also, because there are so many persons with disabilities around across the nation. Just like the Timothy said, we have about, according to statistics, we have about 30 million persons with disabilities in Nigeria. And quite a number of these persons do not even know what to do, how to move, what to involve themselves in, just because of what society has conditioned them to become. So disability, because I know if I work hard, I'll be able to make impacts in these lives. Just like sometimes I get people come to my inbox on Facebook to say, "Oh, thank you very much for your motivation, be my mentor," and all of those. So I feel I'm touching lives. So whenever I get responses like that, I get motivated to want to do more. To want to attain more heights, so that I can reach out to these people the more. But most importantly, I am motivated because of my disability, because the society we live in isn't fair to persons with disabilities. So for you to make your name out there, you have to work hard. You have to do extra to be able to meet up with the demands of our society. So that's the reason why that's my motivation, basically.
Okay, thank you very much, Lucky. Hello, I don't know if you got that. Hello, Ka. Okay, I believe he did. So, it's to ask something. If we have people with physical impairments here at Korea, please.
Sorry to cut you. Yes, I got that. I got his explanation.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So, one thing I would ask to that is, if you can get that height, you can, and you can even do more. So please don't be discouraged because of your condition, because you can actually attain feat with it or without it. So we are rooting for you. We are here for you. We'll keep fighting until the society accepts you fully. So thank you, Mr. Lucky. This session has been really impactful and amazing, and I'm glad we got reactions from our audience. So before we, because we are almost that's a surprise for us, right?
Hello, Patience, I can't hear you very well.
Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, I can hear you.
Okay, before we go, I'm trying to that you have a surprise for us.
A surprise.
Either to sing or
You said?
sing for us
Sing. Did you just say
or
sing?
receive a poem. Yes, sing.
Did I mention I can sing in my biography? My autobiography?
You
So I mentioned that.
yes.
Oh, I see. So which would you prefer, a song or a poem? Hello?
Whichever one would
Okay. Let me just do a very short poem. I think that would help. Let me not disgrace myself. Maybe I'm thinking I can sing, and I'll sing now. They will say, "Oh, is that what he was saying? Is that what he said?"
sing.
I can't hear you anymore. Your line is breaking.
Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now.
I said you can sing,
Oh, I can sing.
but you think it's you sing.
Oh, I see. Okay. Thank you for that. All right, let me just do the poem, okay? Okay, so I titled this poem my rightful name. Okay, so and the summary of this poem is that people do not see what persons with disabilities can do. Okay, and they see disability to be just your inability to see with your eyes, your inability to walk with your legs, your inability to use your hands, and all that. But they don't see disability in their inability to understand the possibilities in you as a person with a disability. So that's the summary of this poem. And it says, if a white man turns and calls you nigger, you will fume in simmering rage and best to pull a trigger. Of course, he is wrong and must learn to see your upgrade. Hence, the white streets shall freeze to watch your legal parade. But he turned and saw him skill. Like the noble bat, my flair and marked so real. But you looked at me and saw an invalid, not a man. Yet, you think you're different from the white man. I am not angry. I am sad. Not for your insolence. That's not so bad. Not for your ignorance. For if you can always see my disabilities, but can't understand my glaring possibilities, can you then say you do not have a disability? Just thinking. So that's the poem.
Oh, wow, beautiful. You really have a lot. Once again, thank you so much. We are really grateful for this session, the wonderful one. Wish you all the best in all your shoes.
Thank you very much.
Thank our audience for staying to listen, to learn, and to encourage you to keep the light on. Please, we need more action. We need more disability rights. Their rights must be well known across the globe. So do the most you can. It doesn't end at just writing on speaker pages and the rest of it. It also be by being just thank you so much for Our next session will be next. We do have influence in the month. Follow us, follow us, and so